Ladies and gentlemen, damas y caballeros, is it just me? Or do you also feel that there are a lot of weird things going on in society? Because if you look at the trajectory that we've been on these past few years, it seems like this bubble that has been growing and growing, but will eventually burst. When you look at certain trends that have been building up these past few years, it just seems inevitable that they're going to come crashing down. And when they do come crashing down, I think it's going to harm a lot of people. And so in this video, I want to share 5 of these trends that don't seem sustainable. Trends that have become so normalized, we don't really see their absurdity. We don't see the bubbles that will inevitably burst. And that first trend is luxury apartments. One trend that has been sweeping the nation is the booming business of luxury apartments. Every city and town across America seems to be building these giant luxury apartment complexes. And in these luxury lofts, every unit is complete with the newest appliances, a complete gym, a pool, a fire pit, and communal areas. I mean, where I live in Colorado Springs, in the downtown area alone, there are 9 luxury apartment complexes being built, with a combined of over 3,000 new units. And when you look these units up, their prices are astronomically more expensive than the older stuff on the market. For example, this is a new luxury loft that was recently built and a studio cost between $1,600 and $1,900. And paying that much for a studio in Colorado Springs is absurd. That might work in Denver, but not in Colorado Springs. Because, for example, this entire house with about 2 times the square footage is $1,600. And I think if every city and town across America is building these expensive luxury apartments, it's inevitable that something bad is going to happen. And I think it's either going to be the increase of rent prices of everything else on the market, the displacement of lower income people due to unaffordability, or the luxury apartment industry busts because no one is able to afford their rent prices. How can you look at this luxury apartment industry and think that is sustainable? When you start charging $1,600 for a studio in a small city, it's inevitable that this bubble is going to burst and something bad is going to happen. Now, this next trend pairs well with the luxury apartment industry, and it's revitalized town centers. Now, most of the time, these luxury apartment complexes are built close to a downtown area, and that's because they're marketed not just as a place to live, but as a lifestyle. It's about having all the amenities right at your doorstep. And what often happens next when one of these luxury lofts enters a town or city is that the town center gets revitalized. It's like this virus that starts to infect every single industry, and then all of a sudden you start to see craft breweries pop up, trendy nacho restaurants appear, and specialty ice cream shops open. It's like whenever these luxury lofts are built, everything else follows suit and becomes trendy and hipster. And to be honest, it's a cool environment to be around. But what you eventually notice is that everything starts to become extremely expensive. I mean, a craft beer costs $10. A plate of specialty nachos is $30. And some specialty ice cream is $15. Nothing in these areas is affordable, and regardless of how much money you make, how many times can you get a plate of $30 nachos until you say to yourself, I am not spending $30 on a plate of nachos? It doesn't matter how nice a place is if everything is unaffordable, and I think it is inevitable that these revitalized town centers will eventually come crashing down and something bad is going to happen, whether that's people drowning in debt, we create a 2-class society, or they will become ghost towns due to no business. When every industry becomes unaffordable for the average person, it is inevitable that a bubble will burst and something bad will happen. Now, this third trend is something that you've probably dealt with, and it's tipping. Another trend that has picked up in the past 3 years is it seems like everywhere you go, somebody will smile and just want to ask you a little question. Tipping has infected every single service industry job, and I think it's just going to continue to expand. And I think this tipping system, especially for everyone, is extremely harmful because it's basically the employer saying, you work for me. But it's not my responsibility to pay your salary. It's the customer's responsibility. And this forces people to make their living based off the generosity of others. And it's also a discriminatory, unfair system. Because if you have a table of young guys, they will probably give a bigger tip to a beautiful waitress than they would to a dorky guy. And that's not necessarily anybody's fault, it's just this unconscious bias. But this tipping system isn't benefiting even the people that receive the tips. The only person that benefits in the tipping system is the employer, because they don't have to pay their workers. And if this tipping culture continues to expand, I can only see it turning out badly. Because 1, expectations for a fair wage will decline. 2, wages will stagnate as it expands to other industries. And 3, workers won't be able to plan out their lives. When more and more people are forced to survive off the generosity of others, it is inevitable that a bubble will burst and something bad will happen. Now, the 4th trend is Temu. If you've been on the internet lately, you've probably heard of this online shopping store, Temu. It's actually one of the most downloaded apps in the App Store right now. And Temu's slogan is "Shop like a billionaire." Because Temu sells random low-quality products at extremely low prices, like a burrito blanket for $7.47, or a mini vacuum sealer for $6.28. You know, in case you want to reseal your chip bag for some reason. But the reason it's become so popular is because they have heavily marketed through influencers, showing Temu hauls or Temu mystery boxes. I mean, if I got $1 every single time Temu reached out to me, I would have a few $100s. Can you imagine me promoting Temu in one of my videos, ladies and gentlemen? But the appeal of Temu is not the products, because all of the products are very low quality. But the appeal of Temu is buying tons of low quality products at low prices, getting them shipped to your house, and opening the products. It's about that experience. It's about the excitement involved in opening the products. And I think this Temu trend of buying for the sake of buying and the experience of opening a product can only be harmful because 1, it makes people spend wastefully. 2, it creates addictive spending behavior. And 3, it promotes wasteful and unethical labor practices. If this Temu trend continues, which I think it will, I think it's going to create a lot of harm to society and individuals. It's going to make people make a lot of bad financial decisions, especially the younger people that get influenced by this marketing. Now, the 5th and final trend is sports betting. About 5 years ago in 2018, the Supreme Court ruled in favor of sports betting and gave states the option to legalize it. And 5 years later, it is now legal in 37 states. And if you live in one of these states, you've probably seen famous celebrities and advertisements promoting these sports betting apps, like Kevin Hart and DraftKings, or Jamie Foxx and BetMGM. Sports betting has been heavily marketed since its legalization, and it's an industry that's growing extremely rapidly. I mean, it's estimated that between the years 2022 and 2027, it will grow by $139.28 billion. And with sports betting, all you have to do is pull out your phone, open the app, and bet on a variety of things. And there are many different apps to choose from to bet. It's like having a casino in your pocket 24/7 where you could place bets for gambling. And what could possibly be wrong with that? What could possibly go wrong? Well, it's obvious that many things go wrong, because when people have access to gambling 24/7, they're going to make impulse emotional decisions, lose a lot of money, and develop addictive behavior. When someone has 24/7 access to a casino in their pocket to gamble whenever they want to, it is inevitable that it's going to create addictive behavior and harm many people financially. And sports betting has and will harm many people as we move forward in society. And those are the 5 consumerism trends that will end up badly in 2024. With that, muchas gracias. Que tengan buen día. Nos vemos, chicos. We don't see that there's actually bubbles that will inevitably You don't always get these in one take, ladies and gentlemen.